Welcome back to another edition of Let's Talk About It, and today's topic is Microsoft 365 and what it can do for you. So James, Microsoft 365, what is it? What does it do?
Do I need it?
And do you need it? Yes.
Well, this is a huge topic, right? Like we talk about this probably weekly,
Big.
right? It's that big, yeah. So there's a bunch of different flavors of it, let's call it.
Take your time if you need a drink.
Okay, thank you. So there's a bunch of different flavors, and this is where we get all the questions, because there's the mailbox, which is considered as formerly, I guess, known as Office 365, everyone called it. So there would be a mailbox version, then there's the version that's just the software, then there's the two combined. There's different kinds of things they're calling Microsoft 365 these days.
Right.
So I think we should really just define it for people and just tell them, what it is exactly and why we think it's such a great product, right? I mean, we talk about it all the time.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that it's changed. Everybody has utilized Microsoft Office for a long time, and that would
which would be Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook.
Right. So basically a retail box version, and you bought it, and then maybe you updated to a new version every 3 or 4 years, or maybe never.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that brought about a lot of compatibility issues between different versions when you were using an older one. Microsoft 365 is a subscription-based software version, so you always have the latest version, and that's one of the great things about it. You're always utilizing the latest up-to-date version of the software, and then you get all the updates for any kind of security patches or any sort of updates.
So we can define that even. I mean, subscription model meaning that there's a monthly fee, right, that they'll pay depending on which flavor they have. And it's kind of one of these things where, as you said, you're always up to date. You're always going to have the latest software. Because you brought up a really good point in the sense that there's a lot of people, I don't know how often you see it, but we see it maybe monthly, where we're coming across an old version of Office from 2010 maybe, or 2007 we saw the other day. And it's, as you said, it's going to create compatibility issues. It's going to create problems. A lot of the older versions of the software won't even connect to a 365 mailbox now. So you can get issues there, or if you do want to make them connect, you've got to lower security. There's many reasons why we want to have that up to date. What are some of the other problems, let's say, by buying the software one-off, let's say retail?
Well, I think one of the big things, especially if you're just starting out with a business and you need 10 copies of it, you're stuck paying quite a bit up front for those copies. The nice thing about subscription services is it's either a monthly or a yearly subscription. So the cost of getting into it
can be a lot lower.
A lot lower, yeah. So much easier to get into. And then you can move those subscriptions around as you need, as your business changes and maybe employees change. You can move those subscriptions around
because it's a license, right? And then you would assign that license to the person,
right?
With the managed portal, let's say, of the 365 environment, which you couldn't do with these one-off retail softwares.
No, not some of them you were able to do that. Certainly, much more work. It was much harder to manage. The other thing you can do with it is if you have numerous devices. So most of us have a phone, a tablet, a laptop, a desktop.
Good point.
So, buying one subscription will entitle you to put it on up to 5 of your devices.
So, which would be a huge contrast to retail or the one that came with your computer, whereby it's meant to stay with that one person on that one computer. You're not able to move it to other machines. You're probably not able to upgrade it. And for sure, you can't get a newer version of it for free. Upgrades were always costly, if you could do them at all. So that's a really good point, the 5 copies. There's other things too, I think, right? The version that you would get with your computer, or if you bought it at Staples or Bureau and Gros in the French version, Best Buy, where else do we find these things? They're not going to have some components that we find are pretty critical these days, like access and what other things?
Yeah, and that's one of the other things that's happened. Generally, there were different versions if you wanted to access Microsoft's database. I think even Microsoft Access. Yeah. So you would have to buy a more extended version to get that.
And I think it would about double the price, right?
It added up to quite a bit. So now it's much less expensive. You're getting a lot more with the subscription version than you would with the retail version. There's actually a lot of programs in there that people might not even be aware of.
Yeah, let's go through that. So one of the things that we push people to do, especially the smaller offices, let's say, I don't know what, 10 people or less, where they have a small environment, they wouldn't need a server. We've been pushing them to use what's called SharePoint, and of course the component that allows access to that, OneDrive, a small file sync and share software we're going to put on each computer, and they'll have access to the different shares, let's say, we'll call them that. In SharePoint, we can create these sites that they can have access to on their computer. So I find that that's a really good way to, smaller offices to share their files. You wouldn't have this with a regular one-off software.
No, so that is a big deal, because it really makes working as a team and collaborating with others much easier to do. And as a matter of fact, you can even collaborate on the same document at the same time. So there's some really neat features to that are very useful in any kind of team environment, and it's extremely inexpensive when you compare it with having your own server and hosting all of your data on that. So it's a very easy way to get into shared data usage amongst your team.
And that was a pretty good segue, talking about Teams a few times. They actually have a product in the box, don't they? The Office or the Microsoft 365 product will come with a software called Teams. And Teams allows video chatting, it allows sharing of whiteboard, allows sharing your screen, allows a lot of collaboration that people are paying extra money for now from Zoom, let's say, or GoToMeeting, or some of these, even Skype. I think we used to be able to do some of those features. All of that kind of built in now with Teams. Can you tell us more about Teams?
Yeah, so Teams is it centralizes a lot of that in a single product. So the great thing is you can do an audio call with your team members. Wow. You can make it a video call, and this can all happen on the fly. You can add these things while you're in the middle of a meeting. You can very easily share your screen if you want to show the rest of the people involved in the meeting, your screen, something you're working on, and then vice versa, you can have one of the other members share their screen back to the bunch.
Yeah. So the annotation is there, and everybody gets to see.
And that's the other cool thing. You can allow them to take over your screen and let them drive if you want them to show a particular product or
PowerPoint, an image they want, things like that.
Plus, it's also a communication package. So think of it as a chat package like Facebook Messenger, but for business. Yeah. So it allows you to you can drag files into that and share them. You can chat back and forth, and then it also has other products that are part of that, like one of the ones that we use is Shifts, which allows you to schedule your team. So you can set up a schedule in Shifts, so your team knows when they're working, what time they're to come in, and
that's
you can
handy.
help it.
It's always good that your team knows when it's time to work.
and it's very easy to share with the team. Plus, it will also do things like you can set it up so they can use it on their phone, and you can have people clock in and clock out with it as well. So there's a lot of features there that probably a lot of us don't even realize.
Take for granted.
They think of Microsoft 365 as Word, Excel, and Outlook, but there's a lot of other features that are part of it that are extremely useful.
A lot of these things have come to the forefront with COVID, of course, and people having to work from home, remote offices, things like that. So I think it's now come to the forefront. That everybody needs to use these tools.
It's great because you can leave the office, go home, and essentially nothing's changed for you. Even using products like SharePoint, which can be part of it. It's a great way to communicate to a team.
The rest of the staff.
Like all things like new news items that have come up, and you can also of course share your files in there, and it's a proper way of file sharing so that people can utilize it like a library where they check files out, check them back in. So you also have some logging and tracking of who has what, and who's updated what.
Yeah, no, we've gone into this maybe one of the other shows, but there's also the component, one of the major components, the mail server, right? There's Exchange in the background running there that provides you with a full mailbox, a synchronized mailbox across all of your devices. It's the same mailbox. And of course, then there's the scheduling and shared scheduling and calendaring, checking out when other people are free and available, sharing of conference rooms and booking them amongst your team, things like that. All of these tools are built in the box. And as you say, I think most people don't even realize.
Yeah, there's so much there that you can utilize, and you know, I would invite everyone to make sure they certainly either send your question to us or ask you know, whoever is looking after your IT.
Agree.
Ask them about it to make sure you're using it, because a lot of these applications are super useful if you know how to use them. And you know, another good one is OneNote.
Oh, good point.
Which,
I use that all the time for my grocery list. Share it with the wife.
It's more than just a grocery list. So OneNote is, you know, another component that you can take all kinds of notes in.
Yeah, I like OneNote.
And save them however you wish, like according to your client names or what have you. But it allows you to take those notes and then share them if you want amongst your team. Give certain people permission to edit them.
This would be as opposed to your little sticky notes you stick on your LCD there.
Yeah, because the problem is the sticky stuff on the back of those wears out, and OneNote doesn't. It keeps on going and going.
You know, they're going to think that we're getting money from Microsoft for this, but it's really, it's just a good tool that, you know, we see all the time, we deal with almost all the time. And if we had a choice, we'd push our customers to use it.
Yeah,
simply because of all the tools built in, all the facilities and that. So there you have it. We hope that this has brought some value to you and has answered your question whether you need 365 or not. We think you do. Let's hope we see you next week. Don't be shy to post some questions below. Send us an email. We'd be glad to help you out with any questions you might have.